Hello and welcome. This is Deb, otherwise known as Motorcycle Mama, and today I want to talk to you about the 6 things I feel new riders need to know when it comes to selecting a helmet. So the first thing that we're going to look at is what are the basic types of helmets that are out there and available. So the first is a full face, then we have modulars, 3/4, otherwise known as open face. You'll hear those names interchangeably, they're the same thing. Half helmets, and dual sport. So before I move to the next slide, I want to draw your attention to the photos in here. So to the left is my daughter. She was a minor at the time that this picture was taken. It was taken out at Sturgis, and she was the passenger. And then on the right-hand side is my son and my grandson. So all 3 of them are wearing full face helmets. So as we move into the full face helmet here, I want to point that out because one of the benefits of the full face helmet is they generally have the highest safety rating. My understanding is that there is one modular that has also met that, but because the full face helmets are one continuous helmet instead of a modular that you're going to learn will actually lift up, it gives it better safety. There's no other way around that. Now, normally with a full face helmet, you're going to have a visor that comes down. You may have a sun visor as well, or they could be interchangeable sun to clears. Just that depends. You'll have to look at the different helmets and see what you like best there. But the main attraction to the full face helmet is definitely the safety that you get by wearing that. Next is a modular helmet, and here this is my helmet and pictures of me. So the one to the left, I have the visor down with the sun visor, and then on the right I have the visor lifted up with the sun visor down, and I'm riding with the visor up. You can ride pulling the front piece up so it is more of a 3/4 or open face helmet. I don't particularly ride that way, but it is a possibility. That's the whole point of this being a modular helmet. It also could be maybe a little bit easier getting on and off. I don't own a full face, so I can't really say comparison personally, but when I'm putting this on, I have the front part lifted up. So I'm just pulling on the straps on either side and pulling the helmet down on my head. We'll talk about the importance of that being snug and a little bit with that and couple up, just a little bit more. Also, if you hang in here with me, I have a demo at the end that we'll see actual putting on of helmets and what that should look like and give you a little bit of information there. But a modular is a good helmet as well. It does give you that flexibility. Again, for most, it's not going to have as good of a rating as the full face, but it's still giving you decent protection. So let's move on and look at that 3/4 or open face. So I do have a 3/4 helmet. However, it is not in my garage at the moment. My ex-husband just bought a new bike and needed a helmet for his girlfriend, so it is on loan indefinitely. I don't really use the helmet much, so he bought it originally, so he's welcome to use it. Anyway, I just don't have a picture of it because I don't have any pictures of me in it, and I don't have it here to take one. But the attraction of the 3/4 or open face helmet is obviously more airflow. You're not quite as constricted. Visibility might be a little bit better depending on how, you're looking at that. But if you notice, you don't have the piece in front that's going to protect your chin, your mouth. In the case of an accident, if you were to hit the bars or something else, that area is still very much vulnerable. So it's something to consider when you're looking at which helmet is the safest for you. Both the full face and the modular are going to protect your chin and that lower area of your face, whereas the open face and the half are not going to do that. So let's go ahead and we will move on to the half helmet. So this is me again, and I'm wearing my favorite half helmet. My daughter actually has an identical one. I think she bought hers first, and it just happened. We didn't coordinate this, it just happened. And I think hers is one size smaller than mine, but we both like this design, and I wear this helmet a lot. Since I've been doing this, I'm trying to wear the full face one a little bit more. Plus, if you notice from the one picture, I have the camera that I put on the front of the full face, so that's helpful. That way you get to see as I'm turning my head instead of from the handlebars or just the 360 camera. But that probably has very little to do with your choice in selecting a helmet, but I figured it's worth pointing out if it is something that you're interested in, of riding and documenting your rides, knowing where you can place cameras. And there is other options. You can still put them on top of the helmets. There's attachments for sides. And I mean, what I'm saying is you don't have to have the full face or the modular in order to be able to do that. There are other ways that you can attach a camera if that ends up being important to you. But anyway, back to the half helmet here. The benefits to this, of course, is a lot more airflow. You can hear better as well generally. You're just not getting any of that chin or face protection. So if you were to go into handlebars or your face is to hit something, you're probably going to really feel that, and it's not going to be a good thing. So from a safety perspective, the full face, the modular, even the 3/4, you're definitely getting a lot more safety bang for your buck out of those other helmets than what you are with the half. The half is just nicer in some other ways that we'll talk about in a couple other slides too. And then we have the dual sport. Let's move on. So the dual sport is a lot like, but different than, I don't want anybody getting upset with me there, like a motocross helmet. It's got this beak up top, it's got the elongated chin that's very much like a motocross helmet. I do have a couple of those in my garage, but they are not dual sport. The dual sport is a different thing. A motocross helmet is not going to have the visor in the front. It's going to, you're going to wear goggles. And because of different things between the two different styles of riding, this is designed for street, whereas a motocross is designed for dirt. So it is a different type of helmet, but there are advantages to this as well. So as you see, the chin is very well protected, and you have like the beak that you can put your head down and deflect if there's, you know, something coming up off the road, rocks, things like that. It can help protect you a little bit there. All right, let's move forward to what's the second thing that I feel that you need to know when buying or choosing a helmet. So the second thing talks about measurements and fits. What I want you to know is not all manufacturers' sizes are the same. So the same as when we go to buy jeans or we go to buy clothes or a top, it is going to be different based on who that manufacturer is. So with a helmet, what's a medium in one brand or manufacturer could be a large in another one, or maybe it's a small in a different one. So you have to actually get that tape measure out, measure around your head. You should measure right above the eyebrows, and each manufacturer is going to have a chart that tells you, okay, this fits between this many centimeters and this many centimeters. The measurements are in centimeters, at least all that I've ever seen. So again, you're measuring right above the eyebrow there, and tight is right. So you don't want it to be too big, you don't want it to be too small. I was kind of feeling like we were doing a Goldilocks thing as I was reading and, you know, trying to find out exactly what the best thing to share with you guys was about that. So you cannot have this helmet too large. If it's too large and you move your head and it's moving, it's not going to give you the protection that you bought the thing to do if you need it. Also, it can give you visibility issues. If that helmet is falling down and it's blocking your eyesight in any way, then that's not good. If you shake your head from side to side and it moves, then again, that's a visibility issue as well. Whereas if it's too small, it's going to get uncomfortable really, really quickly, because a correct fitting one, it actually in the beginning is probably going to be a little bit uncomfortable until it gets broken and you get comfortable with it. So you have to be very careful about selecting the right size. Take the time, do the measurements, look up for the manufacturer of the helmet that you are buying, and make sure that you are getting the right one. If you go into a store that is selling helmets, chances are somebody there is going to be able to help you with that. They'll, you know, be able to help you get the measurements, tell you what size you need for which helmets that you're looking at, and try them on. I'm really going to recommend that, especially if you are a new helmet buyer. Go into the shops, try on different ones, see how they feel, and just really get an idea for that. And then if you end up ordering online, you end up ordering online, but at least that gives you an idea of what you're looking at. Don't just measure, order online, and be done with it there. You do want even pressure points all around when you are trying on these helmets. And we'll talk a little bit more about that too. So the third thing that I want to make sure that everybody knows and is comfortable with is the liner. So this kind of goes along with that fit, but there's some extra things I want you to know in here. So you want to check out the helmet liner. First of all, does the padding feel comfortable against your skin? If that padding is not comfortable, if it's chafing or kind of scratchy or anything like that, you're not going to like to wear this helmet, and it doesn't do you any good if you don't wear the thing, right? So one thing I want you to know here is that the padding is going to wear down after the helmet has been worn for a little bit. Now my full face one, I'm finally getting to the point where I feel like the padding is broken in a little bit and a little bit more comfortable. It's still snug, but it was really snug before. It was almost that too tight thing. So it's now at a place that's good and still gives me what I need to be safe in the helmet, but it doesn't hurt or feel like I have pressure points, which we don't want you to have. So if it is loose when you get this, as this gets broken in, it's going to be too loose, and that could create those issues that I just talked about with the visibility and other things. So some manufacturers will have replacement liners or padding available, and that replacement could just mean, all right, you know, I've been in this one and it's seen better days, but instead of buying a new helmet, then you can just replace the liner. It can also be that they have thinner liners that you can have or use. They may also have something that goes for the crown, which is like the top part, and they could have different ones for the cheeks. So if that's something that you think with your face you're going to have an issue getting something that really works well for you, then check out that helmet. Make sure the manufacturer has replacements that you can try different sizes if you think that that's going to help you get comfortable with your helmet. If anybody has helmets that they really find that they like, things that they've tried that just have worked well for them, and you want to leave a comment or put something in there just to, you know, have others, especially new riders, get that starting point. Again, everybody's a little bit different, so what works well for me may not work well for you, but it doesn't hurt to have that advice and at least have an idea of a starting point of what to go look at. All right, the next thing that we're going to look at, we're up to number 4, exciting stuff, is weight of the helmet. So this is common sense to a degree, but it's worth pointing out as well. Modulars typically are going to weigh a little bit more than a full face helmet does because of that mechanism needed in order to lift up that front of the modular helmet. And mine does. I feel it. And I'm getting better with it, but if I have that helmet on for several hours, my neck is going to start hurting a little bit. So I should probably, again, like I said, after doing this research, I think I'm going to go look for a full face helmet and see if I can find one that I like. I'm not going to get rid of my modular. It has benefits. I'll keep it. I will still wear it from time to time, but I'm thinking, well, if that full face helmet is a little lighter than this one, then that might be a good thing for me. So we're always learning. It doesn't matter how long you've been riding, we're always learning. Half helmets will typically weigh less. Perfectly makes sense, right? There's a lot less of the helmet, so typically that will weigh less. And the materials that are used in the helmet will make a difference in the weight as well. So this is where I don't really get into price point as being something that we're looking at, because you already know the price point that you want and what you can afford to spend. But I guess it's worth a mention here with weight that typically the materials that are used for helmets that are more expensive are going to be some of the ones that might be a little bit lighter. Whereas if you were looking, you know, you can only have a minimal investment, you want to get something that's rated really well, you might have to, you know, sacrifice weight a little bit with that. My helmets, I would say, are middle grade of what I have, maybe even lower to middle grade of what you can spend on a helmet, but some of that's with customization and other things. So mine are good. They have good safety ratings. I like them. But again, looking to potentially get more there. All right. The 5th thing that I want to share with you is certifications. This is really important to know. And once you know it, you kind of know it, and you just you know to look for it. In most shops, if you're going, I think, into a shop to look for helmets, I would think in most cases they're going to carry things that have certifications. If you are at a rally, and I've seen this a lot over the years, there's going to be vendors set up with tables upon tables of half helmets or lids that have really cool designs on them, but they're going to say novelty on them, which means you're not getting protection out of that. They are not certified. I mean, I guess you get some protection possibly, but you're not getting any of these certifications that we're getting ready to talk about. So if you are at a rally, you're a newer rider, and you think, oh, this is a really cool helmet, I want to try this, make sure you are looking at that there is something certified here and it's not saying novelty on it. So the 3 certifications that are out there is DOT. So this is a government mandated safety organization, and you're going to have this little sticker on the back of the helmet to let you know that it is certified. The next is SNELL. So this is an independent testing by the SNELL Corporation, or Foundation, not corporation. And then we have ECE. This is the European certification. So just a little bit of background on these. SNELL certification involves more rigorous and more extensive testing, which would suggest that it's the better motorcycle helmet standard. ECE certification, though, is considered to be the most up-to-date of the certifications and their, what their standards are. And it is recognized in most countries. So even though we're saying that this is a European certification, every indication here is that is also recognized in the US. I did not look up Canada, but I'm going to guess that it probably is. Again, do your research on this. Make sure that you know for where you are in listening to this that these certifications are what you need to have. But the ECE testing and overall requirements are more rigorous than the DOT. So all 3 are good, just letting you know where they kind of all fall in the mix of things. The main thing is just don't get the novelty helmet and you'll be good. All right, the 6th thing that I want to share with you guys is just a little bit of helmet statistics and the laws. So I'm based out of Delaware, so I'm really just talking about Delaware and the surrounding areas. Also know this is July of 2023, so if you're listening this to next year, whenever you're listening, do your research for what the current laws are. Things can change, just so you know exactly, what your laws are in your state. So in Delaware, riders 18 and younger, and any passenger that is 18 or younger. Also, novice riders and their passengers for the first 2 years after endorsement must wear a helmet. Okay, so recapping that again. If you're 18 or younger, or your passenger is 18 or younger, or if you are a new rider, you have to wear a helmet for at least the first 2 years, and your passenger as well. Also in Delaware, one thing that makes us a little bit different is every motorcycle operator or rider age 18 and older, so this is everybody that doesn't fall into the category we just talked about, or rather 19 and older, I think I said 18, 19 and older must carry an approved helmet on the bike if they're not wearing it. So what that means is we can have a helmet, it doesn't have to be on our head, as long as it's on the bike and available to us, we are legal in Delaware. I know that seems a little bit odd, but that is what it is. Pennsylvania is also a little bit different than the rest of the surrounding states. So a helmet is mandatory for the first 2 years after getting your license, unless you have completed the safety course that's approved by PennDOT or the MC Safety Foundation. Okay, so they don't have to have the helmet on the bike like Delaware does. And for those of you, if you're not familiar with this area, there's a lot of roads, a lot of crossover between like southern, southeastern Pennsylvania and Delaware. So riders typically will have at least the helmet on their bike if they're going in and out of the 2 states, because then we go to the next one, which is all the following states, all riders must wear a helmet. And the other state that comes into play here is Maryland and New Jersey mainly, as far as being in this corner that riders are going quite a bit through. So DC, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Virginia, and West Virginia. I only did this mid-Atlantic area, basically. All of those, you have to be wearing a helmet. So shout out to my friends, especially one now that's in Texas, because I was just talking with him about this, that he never wears a helmet. And anytime that I would ask him to go into Maryland, he would grumble and grouch of having to wear the helmet. So I have some other friends that also don't. I'm very much a live and let live, and whatever you choose to do for you is fine. I choose to wear a helmet. Somebody else doesn't. That is their choice, at least if they're in Delaware or Pennsylvania. If they are in any of the other states, they may not actually have that choice. So some things that might help you to make that choice of what's right for you, unless your state is making that choice for you. And these are just some basic facts. I thought it was only fair if somebody is a new rider that's listening to this to know what you're getting into and to understand that. So this is a little bit of our reality check section here. So riding a motorcycle is inherently riskier than driving a car. We all know that, right? That's not a surprise to anybody that's listening to this. Motorcycles are less stable than passenger vehicles during maneuvers. Again, didn't really need to tell you that. There's a lack of protection compared to an enclosed vehicle, or as we call them, cages. And per mile traveled in 2021, the number of deaths was nearly 24 times greater on motorcycles than for somebody in a car that was in an accident. And that is a statistic that I just don't like. My partner rides, my son rides, my grandson could be riding with him, I ride. So I understand, and I also know that anytime I leave my garage, there's no guarantee that I'm coming back to my garage. That is a reality as a motorcycle rider. But also, you know what? Here's the reality of, getting into a car, a truck, crossing the street. Anything that we can do can have a danger to it. I love riding, and those that I love that ride, I understand that they love riding too. So I would never discourage that. I just encourage everybody to be safe as you possibly can. Also, the US federal government estimates that wearing a helmet reduces the risk of dying in a crash by 37%. Now notice that's an estimate. Not exactly sure how those numbers are coming about, but that's a pretty high percentage. And unhelmeted riders are 3 times more likely than helmeted ones to sustain traumatic brain injuries in the event of a crash. I think that one just makes sense. I would actually expect it to probably be more, but something to think about as you are deciding what type of helmet that you want and if you're going to wear a helmet at all. So.
Can Daddy help? No. Okay.
I can't.
Can Daddy help?
All right. Shake it. All right, great job. You can take it off. Thank
Put your
you.
helmet away.
I can't.
Thank you for watching this video. If you learned something from it, if you enjoyed it in any way, please make sure you hit that thumbs up and like. Also, please subscribe to the channel. It's really important, greatly appreciate it. It would be a big help if you did. And just take care and make sure that you keep it shiny side up.